So one function that we're going to start learning about is called a power function. So a power function. What a power function is, you've already been dealing with. I'm going to write an example of a power function for you before I actually show you the math part of it with actual numbers. So let's say I have f of x equals 3x squared. That's a power function. You've done that before. How about g of x equals, I don't know, let's do 5x to the 7th power. That's a power function as well. Then maybe say h of x equals the square root of x. Or let's put a 3 in front of that. 3 square root of x. This is a power function. But this is one of those things where last year when we stopped, you missed part of Algebra 2 that's kind of important. So let me show you that right now before we really dive into what a power function is. You missed what's called exponents and exponential rules. There is an exponential rule that says if you take the nth root of, say, x to the m power, we can rewrite this to a power. We don't need to write it as a square root or an nth. We can write this as x to the m divided by the n. So my root on the outside is my denominator. My power on the inside is my numerator. That's going to come into play because the type of power functions we're going to do are rational functions. They're going to have rational numbers as powers. That means it's going to have a fraction. So we're going to deal with the power and power. All right. So here's what a power function is. A power function is simply a variable raised to some random power. So the way we write this is we could say f of x is going to be some number times x raised to a power, let's call that p. Right? So x to the power of p. That's a power function. That's it. So some number x to the power, some number x to the power, some number x to a power, because this is understood to be 2, this is 1, so we can write this as 3x to the 1/2 power. So 3x to a power. And this rule is what allows me to rewrite that. So this is what a power function is. But we're going to do some very basic power functions because this can get really dicey. We're not going to do any transformations on these. Everything we're going to have is basically starting at the origin. Now, in this case, I'm going to say that my p is going to be r divided by s, make it a fraction, and r and s is an element. Let's just do natural numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not even going to deal with the negative cases. So we're only dealing with the positive cases. There's other scenarios out there. This is more of an introduction to power functions. So really what we're going to be doing is, for a large part, we're going to ignore this and we're going to treat that as 1. That's how I wrote most of the problems. That's going to be a 1 because it's really not going to affect what I'm asking you to do. But we're going to try to find the domain and range of these power functions when p is going to be positive, and it's always going to be r divided by s. Hi, I'm Mr. Buzzard, and these videos are supplemental instruction for my students. If you found the video enjoyable, make sure you click the like button and click subscribe, as well as the bell for notifications to receive future videos on high school mathematics.